You're about to take an inward journey that will be the most valuable experience of your life. Put aside all expectations. Don't do it to feel better. Do it because you want to be a clear, thinking, self-motivated individual. Expecting an outcome involves will, the usual struggle that has up to now caused frustration and complicated your life.
Religion, meditation, God, evil, salvation. Seekers all over the world are trying to figure a purpose to their lives. Many visit faraway monasteries, temples, churches, mosques. Some will go and bathe in a river to cleanse their sins. Others will eat a piece of sugar to get close to Christ. But does this work? Look at all the queues outside a shrink's office or at the local bar. When you're born in India, there is no escape from temples, religions, traditions, customs. My parents would prepare me to go to the temples. I would watch people wake up the gods by ringing the bell. Ding dong, gods wake up. They would kneel, as if by kneeling God would listen better. They would shut their eyes. That's how I was made to believe that that's what prayers are. Humanity is capable of such great achievements in the field of science, medicine, but they are unable to cure themselves. I remember very vividly one particular evening, without any inciting incident, I suddenly lost all faith in the traditions, all faith in the customs which I was shown, and the concept of God died. I should have been sad, but I remember I smiled. I was now free to learn what God was on my own. I had so many questions in my mind. What actually is God? What is prayer? But where would I go to get these answers? The priests? It won't work. You see, they were coming down with the legacy of what they had been taught.
जैसा कर्म करके आता उसी हिसाब से उसको जन्म मिलता है। जो भाग्य की विधाता होते, जो अच्छे कर्म वाले, वही यहाँ आ पाते हैं। यहाँ पर अंतिम स्थान है, यहाँ पर फिर मरने के बाद यहाँ फिर जन्म दूसरा नहीं होता। उसको बड़ी सौभाग्य की प्राप्ति होती है। ये महाशमशान बात है।
Life passed on, and to study cinema and to further my career, I moved to Los Angeles, and there I met this guy called Roy Masters.
Joining us in Los Angeles now is...
We're speaking to the nationally known...
Roy Masters.
The way, the truth, the life. Are you Jesus Christ?
You're a huckster. You're a sideshow person here.
I think yours is a gimmick.
Make no mistake, this man is very powerful.
Roy Masters is perhaps one of the most dangerous men he's ever met.
Roy Masters not only wrote these two books.
Roy Masters.
You don't want to listen to an intellectual person because he's lost. All he knows is what is told to him and never gets further than that. I want to get further and further and further till I find the Father.
Any intellectual pressure to memorize the Bible will never save a single soul. Beware of the religious screamers who first embarrass you and then shock you into believing into the man. The Christian Bible has a very deep meanings in words, but the meanings behind the words is what will awaken your soul. Every seeker reads the Bible can immediately be implanted with an eternal meaning. Understand, a good sounding emotional as well as a bad emotional will always suck you in. Strong emotions, either way, will never take you to God.
I have come to religion very, very slowly, seeing what the problem of life is. the Bible tells us we're born in sin. I understand that to mean that we're under some kind of hypnotic influence in which we're not in charge of our own destiny, but something or someone is.
Mr. Masters used to teach meditation, used to speak about God, which I had not really grasped while I was with him. I contacted him, and to my utter surprise, he recognized me. And I said, "Can I make a movie on you?" And he said, "Yes." I collected a fancy crew, some equipment, and drove off to Oregon to meet Mr. Masters. When somebody needs help of God, they are in despair. They are unable to help themselves, and they really seek an intervention to help them become a better person, to grow. How do they pray?
Worship is hypocrisy. I don't worship, I live it.
Now people worship whatever, it's movie stars or people that are good at talking, politicians or whatever. They in a way worship, and they might even worship themselves to some degree.
पूजा में पहले सर्वप्रथम व्यक्ति को शुद्ध होना, शरीर की शुद्धि करना, उसके बाद में फिर स्वच्छ वस्त्र पहन करके, धुले हुए वस्त्र पहन करके शरीर शुद्धि के बाद में फिर शरीर का श्रृंगार करना। अपने जीवन को अनुशासित और संयमित करने के लिए हम नित्य की जो उपासना करते हैं उसको पूजा नाम से जाना जाता है।
יש שני סוגי תפילה, יש תפילה אישית ויש תפילה כללית או ציבורית. הדברים שאנחנו צריכים 10 אנשים, החשיבות זה לא בשבילנו.
I can see the hypocrisy of religion, psychiatry, psychology. They know nothing how the person became evil and sick and broken, and they give them drugs because they don't know any better. But you don't need any drugs when I'm finished with you.
The drug is able to stop a sensation and an awareness, as if that were to change anything. It makes you unaware, but it doesn't change anything.
The only thing that happens was good about medicine. The only thing that's good, and it's still dangerous, is to keep you alive from your own stupidities, basically. And not from your own stupidities, but stupidity laid on you when you're a little boy. Nobody can teach you. The teacher is within you. If you belong to anything, if you belong to anything, you cannot find God. I'm born Jewish, but when I went to synagogue, I laughed my head off because it sounds so stupid. And I said, if this is religion, thank you, no thank you. And my friend and I just couldn't help but laugh. This is not religion, nor is any other similar religion a religion. Religion comes from within. Every single one of them is mesmerized by religion, this religion, that religion. It all depends on who gets you first. They're stupid.
The origin of my knowledge is God.
God? What God?
What knowledge is any good but that? I free people from cults.
I see.
I free people from culture. I free people from the bondage of their drugs and their religions, because religion becomes an opiate too. I'm not saying that religion doesn't have a value, but a religion has become abused.
He says that about organized religion because he knows that religion and or medicine don't tell people the truth about their condition.
Many good people coming into the world, when they come into the world, you carry the light of truth, and the culture gets inside you and makes you one of them, and you have conflict.
मूंग लोग को सबसे अच्छा नहीं दिखने वाला पहनना पड़ता है जी। सब लोग बाल अच्छा करके लगता है, मूंग को सिर्फ करना पड़ता है क्योंकि मूंग को हर चीज़ अलग जैसा करना पड़ता है जी। मूंग में सबसे अच्छा तो ये लगा क्योंकि सब मूंग का इज्जत करते हैं और उनको सब पेचा का मतलब बताने में अच्छा लगता है.
We come to this earth, you know, as a very innocent human being, but then we get imprinted, like as if, you know, programs are being written on our hard drive that are not originally our own.
I have very little faith in conventional religions or conventional ministers or preachers. I, for the most part, think that most of them are phony.
You don't need me for you to talk to the God. You can talk to yourself with your own God, God is yours too alone. At the same time, the same God will use His, my God, too. Why can't we shake hands and say, we are brothers? Let's sit down, talk together. Let's pray together.
If a preacher tells you that if you love Jesus, if you believe in Jesus, everything will be all right, you are free. That isn't truth. 2,000 preachers in America, 2,000 different forms of Christianity. None of them work. They're just mechanical.
The word search in the Bible is really mistranslated. It really comes from a Latin word or Greek, to yearn. And that's more, searching seems to be something outside. We do outside ourselves. We look under a stone and we look in books. But it's more of a yearning, an aching of the heart. And more accurately, it's an aching for someone or something greater than ourselves to find that we have never known or want to know. It's a missing part of ourselves.
Something that I don't seem to get in church. I'm continually looking for that more, that something more, that truth that is not contained in words, but is beyond and before them.
The Bible says we have this promise and that promise and all that, but and it's all true, but I didn't see it in my life.
The ministers are afraid to say some things that are very painful for people to hear because they want people to come back to church that next Sunday.
I see religious people as they are for the most part. They're mostly historians. The best of them, they study history about Christ, about Moses, and they can tell you all about history, but they can't tell you how to be what Moses was. They can't tell you how to find the courage and strength and the controls and the disciplines, the mind contacts, the inner contact that Christ had. So I deal with the mystery part of religion.
Some people go to outside authorities because that's what we learned. We live in a society that values authority, that values obedience. That's how we get trained at school, that there's an outside expert who knows more than I do.
We are born with intuition. It's a very important thing. And when you lose what intuition is, you take on the identity of the person who took you away from unfolding like a flower.
I think you should live your life perfectly each moment. And because, you see, it's the way you react to each experience that determines what your later life will be, whether you'll be a better person or whether you'll be a bitter one.
Are you right now, as we speak, without sin?
Right now, until the next moment of temptation where I respond ungraciously and angrily and impatient to people, to the likes of yourself, I will be taking on your identity, and I will have suffer conflict. I will be growing from your pressure and taking on. You become like what you hate.
Because I understand that one thing, resentment, leads to other things, so that when you get upset, you feel anxiety, and so some people learn to, if you want to be more gracious in your perversion, you will eat too much. In other words, you're looking for feelings. Again, the feelings is emotion again. And so, if you can eat your food and enjoy it, and not get a feeling from it. Sex is the same way. And millions of people have overcome their problems because there's only one problem: emotion. Only one problem: emotion.
I don't think, again, there's any right or wrong with emotions. I think emotions, again, are a part of who we are and are a natural part of us as a biological organism. And of course, emotions can lead to destructive forces and behaviors, or they can lead to nurturing, building behaviors.
The way you die is what you eat, what you drink, drugs, alcohol. That would decide what sickness you have. But the root is being lost.
Most famous religious places where people are supposed to go to discover themselves are nothing more than tourist spots now. They go there, they take photos to post on social media. They buy sweets, they buy souvenirs, and they feel like they're doing something special. Even the bagel has become holy in these places. In fact, I've seen undergarments being sold on the way to a temple in Jerusalem. If there was ever anything holy in these places, godly, it doesn't exist anymore. It's just hardcore business where people are selling their products and fleecing tourists. If religion was working, the triangle where the world's most holy places exist, the Church of Nativity, the Jewish First Church, and Al-Aqsa Mosque would be a place of harmony, peace, laughter, joy. But instead what we see is guards with machine guns. Ultimate religious bigotry and hatred. Religion is doing something which it's not supposed to do. It's actually dividing people.
When the Nazis went into Warsaw, there was a man, and the Germans killed 4 of his daughters. And he started again. All of a sudden he says, something came to him. If you do that, you'll become like them. So he's in the concentration camp now, and there's bones and skinny people everywhere. And the military come in, they're winning the war, and everywhere there's bodies. And there's a man standing there perfectly normal. And they said, how long you been here? He says, 5 years. He said, how is it you're not like these people? He says, I don't know. But I can only say this. When I was in Warsaw and the Germans came in and killed my 4 daughters, I wanted to get angry. And then I realized what anger would do. And something stopped the anger. And he let it go. He let the anger go. The average person, if you say something mean to them or upset, they lose who themselves to that other person. And then they turn around and do it to somebody else. And so when you're upset with somebody who's more innocent than yourself, that person becomes exactly like the other person and turns around and does it to himself. However, if I can teach people not to respond to the slightest degree, so that what happens is everything changes. So the bully tries to bully me, I'm calm.
Stress is at some level a lack of faith. Because if we're stressed about this or that, what's coming up, or things we can't control, we're actually trying to wrest control and grab control from God.
It's important for us to understand that He is within. God is within. And so many people look outside for the sing-song part of church, the feel-good part of it, and forget about, really, you must live your life every day like you're in church.
My dad has been in the limelight since I was probably like 7 years old, 6 years old. People always thought he was this incredible man. He didn't pretend to be this incredible guy. He helped millions and millions of people. I saw it all. He's not perfect, but he's a good man.
I was 14 and my father died. And I remember asking him, what's the meaning of life? And he says, you have to find it for yourself. And that was all. And that is beautiful.
Again, we're not talking about an ordinary man. We're talking about an extraordinary man. When I was younger, I said to my father, compared to my friends, I'm the best kid out there. And my father looked at me, and I'll never forget this. He says, don't compare yourself to those crazy kids. He said, if you want to compare yourself to anyone, compare yourself to Jesus Christ.
This is where we grew up, 5 kids in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and we still absolutely love it. I remember every day, time to everybody shut up for 1 hour or 2 hours, and we literally had to tiptoe around here everywhere. Dad's on the radio.
My dad is a father of talk radio, by the way. He was one of the first people to do talk radio.
Now, from the foundation of human understanding, here is Roy Masters.
There was one human on a radio station that I didn't even know.
I'm going to take a first call from Northern California. They've been waiting for a long time.
That was an outer voice coming in and telling me personally that this doesn't have to be your life, that you can get out of this. And I held on to that like cement.
And that's what my father's helping people to do, is to wake up, stand up, and speak up.
In 1960, I recognized something as awful.
People were very concerned about cults. And there were some noise about Roy being a cult leader.
Did you say that every religion in America is a cult? So you're a cult leader then?
Others say he's a hypnotic cult guru.
Roy Masters is a cult leader.
The media, nearly all the media was Marxist.
I think you are a very dangerous man. I think you prey on these people's weaknesses. I think you take them at a time when they need something, they're desperate for help, and they go to you where they actually should be looking to the Lord for any help that they need in their life. You are becoming their God, and that is wrong.
Why would you get so offended at something? I mean, that means there must be something true in what he's saying for you to get so offended.
I saw the technique of lying as truth and truth as lying.
That's your idea of teaching. It looks to me like it's pretty close to Kool-Aid time.
I beg your pardon, that's kind of judgmental.
Yes, it is judgmental.
You don't know much about me, it seems.
Any cult leader, they try to get it all about the individual and then to isolate their members from their family and from any input from the outside, so that this leader is the only one that they can turn to, that they can trust, that has all of the answers.
You're not born with the knowledge of conscience.
That shows you how much you know. It shows you how far you've fallen from reality, that you don't even know that you have an intuitive knowing.
People who are not perfect love people who love the worst in them.
If you don't want to admit you're wrong, you go to somebody who says, okay, we love you the way you are. Well, the devil will always accept you the way you are, because he made you the way you are.
I went into the seminar and I thought, okay, if we're all wearing certain hats or doing some weird thing, then I'm gone. And I'm not the only one that has this sentiment. I've talked to many other people. I went into the seminar and I am so glad that I went.
The foundation has no teachings, it has no doctrine, you cannot belong, you cannot join, you cannot.
Pull yourselves up by your bootstraps, stop with the victim mentality, learn to forgive. You know, that's been his mantra ever since, is just learn to forgive your parents, realize that they couldn't help who they were. And I think I just needed to hear that again and again and again because I had so much hatred.
I think that the thing about Roy is he wants people to go live their own lives and be independent and not follow him, but understand what he has to offer.
And I started meditating, and I did everything wrong. I did what he says time and time again. Don't learn me, don't study me, you know, don't put me on a pedestal.
I was really impressed with this man that was espousing Christian ideas that actually made sense.
And that's the thing that was different about him. He said, here's what's wrong with you. And we all know something's wrong. We have a conscience.
Well, you know, the first time I heard him, I was actually in school, and I built a small radio, and happened to turn it on, and I hear this guy knocking all the worldly experts And I just immediately fell in love with it. This is amazing. This man speaking against the psychiatrists, the school teachers.
If you're having trouble with a friend or at work or with your parents, if you have unresolved issues, he can help you see the why and the how of it.
But he is on a mission till the day he dies to make sure that he spreads that word.
Roy doesn't want you to take his word for anything. You go find out for yourself, or else it has no meaning.
You shouldn't accept what I say just because I say it. You've got to see it for yourself. If you don't see it for yourself, it won't do you any good.
And that's Roy's ministry, so to speak.
He's the real deal, and it's kind of sad he's 90, because it'd be neat if he could go on for the next 20 years. And I think he's going to try. I don't think my dad, he will never quit.
At the end of the day, ultimately having a father like mine has given me the ability to travel through life perhaps with a little bit better understanding and a little bit better of an actual idea what I'm supposed to do in my life, which is to search for the meaning of life.
My journey apparently was necessary to marry a difficult lady. And she is difficult, but she's decent. There's something good in her. I've been married 64 years.
My mom and dad have a very special relationship that you'd have to know them and understand it.
It's my wife. I don't care about anybody else. I care for her. To death do us part.
We have a 50% divorce rate in this country. Our guest today, Roy Masters, says he knows why this is. Why is it that you say woman is the cause of all the misery in the world?
Well, I qualified it.
A woman is wise who picks a wise man to rule her. It is the guilt, the sin, and the serpent in the woman which fears a man's dominating wisdom.
The fault is men. I think that through the woman is the metrics through which all the horror in this life is drawn.
Women are mean. They're downright cruel, lots of women. All of us women know that too.
Women, they always feel that the answer for them in life, for their ultimate happiness, is through a man.
Can you love somebody and use them at the same time?
I can use them to give them all the goodies that I have and share them and have a good time. I can use them to cook something and have it eaten up.
You're not very deep, are you?
Oh, I think so.
I'm sorry.
Phyllis, that's it.
My father was an alcoholic, and he used to beat my mother, and my mother would have affairs on him, and this is kind of the environment that I was raised in. And I had a lot of hatred for my parents. I just thought, how in the world can these people even have children and bring them up in the world?
I would say that it is the dynamic between a man and a woman that is not on the highest level that causes all the evil in the world.
There's something in a woman that wants to overcome a man, means to take control of him so he is like the woman and she's in the man in the home. When that happens, your family is gone.
One of the books he's written is called Sex, Sin, and Salvation. See what you think of some of these ideas. Marriage, even under the best social conditions, is a living hell. You don't love your wife?
No, I love her. I don't lust her. There's a difference between loving
you
a
don't
person.
know what you're missing. Of such disrespect. Tell me, what are visiting days where your wife is?
No.
Can we go to see her?
No, I think that's out of order.
No, I don't, because you're
Because if you're a
speaking
man,
about
I'll
a
punch
woman
you right on the
you live
nose.
with. I know it. I just had my nose.
See, I love my wife, and please don't insult her.
But you're insulting her when you
Excuse me,
insult
I want an
women.
apology. I want an apology.
I
please.
apologize to your wife.
A man is trying to pull out from a woman what shouldn't be pulled out of her. The you could call it the bitch, or the, you know, this guilefulness and sensuality, and, you know, he's got this weird need, and a woman wants to be treated like a daughter, even by her husband.
Every man born of a woman is part woman, not all man. And what he is attracted to is, as he comes from the woman, he's drawn back to her through sex. In other words, there's something about her that draws him back and makes him feel better than he deserves. But the love that he has is called pleasure, like drug. The woman becomes like a drug, and he becomes more and more hungry. And the more she gives him, the more she rises to the occasion like a dope pusher. Then she has a dopey husband that does not understand what love is. Lust is opposite to love. And whole world is broken because instead of loving them, he loves the hell in them. You could either push yourself on a woman and she gives in, or you can be seduced. Both of them are just as bad as each other.
It wasn't loving sex, it was the wrong kind. And so it brought out a dark side in me. And I remember learning that lesson very early in life. And I did not like who I was becoming. I was becoming angrier and angrier.
Now, I'm saying that there's a certain amount of tease, a certain amount of power the woman knows how to provoke in a man. And men are suckers for that, because their ego likes to use it every opportunity it can to build itself. So but the point is, when men give in to that tease and take the opportunity to use that woman, then his masculinity disintegrates. Now, I'm not saying that normal sex between man and woman, married of course, is anything wrong with that. But I do say that even in marriage, men can become too hungry.
He looks to the woman for love. And when he looks for the woman love, he's looking for God in the wrong way. He's drawing up darkness into the woman. And that's why they go crazy. And the more you get, the more you want, and the woman gets angry and angry. What kind of man is this? And the only opportunity you have, instead of being a bully, you become an appeaser. Yes, dear. Anything you say, dear.
That mother's love is supportive of egos in children. See, it's supportive of male egos. Why do men and women get married? The dark side of a man, the ego of a man, which is separate from God to be its own God, draws out the worst in a woman, is attracted to what's wrong with a woman, because only what's wrong with a woman will support what the egocentric side of the man, the ambition side, because a man who is separate from God, from the bright side, cannot stand alone all by himself. He needs the support of a tease or a temptation wife. The parents tempt the children to hate their parents. The mothers often tempt their children to reject their father's love, or to reject their father. And I tell you where the evil is coming from. It's coming through the mothers.
Mothers?
It comes through, and I know this is a shock to your sister.
It sure is, because I think most mothers are out there trying to do a good job.
Well, when you're speaking about most mothers, we're speaking about those mothers who create schizophrenic sons, those mothers who dominate their sons and destroy their masculinity, those types of mothers who are very ambitious and pushy that drive their husbands to alcoholism and drugs.
The fact that all of us have come out of a woman. None of us have ever come out of a man or anything else. Even fetuses that were conceived in a petri dish eventually grew up in a uterus that's in a woman. And what effect that has, what does that mean for all of mankind? I don't know, but I don't hear anybody talking about it. That's why I said the comment about the snake tempting Eve, not Adam. Why not Adam? Is that why women are treated abysmally badly across all cultures in our world? Why we make them into slaves?
Men are addicted to women because women make men feel good. But there's two kinds of good. One of them isn't. The one that makes you feel good is not good. He needs to be wiser and understand what a woman really needs is pure love. The world could be more beautiful and more beautiful and more beautiful. What's happening is evil. We have a choice between good and evil.
Look at me. Look, who are you? It is the devil that says there is no such a thing as evil. See? You've got to realize it exists before you can deal with it. Yes! It's a spirit of lust. Yes! If it can convince you that it doesn't exist, it has already conquered you.
Exorcism. This is where it starts to get very tricky. I respect and understand a lot of what Mr. Roy Masters says. But exorcism, I find it very difficult to fathom.
Devil's modus operandi is to confuse people, to keep them from getting the truth.
I've seen people recover dramatically after an exorcism.
You're going to feel his... You're going to feel his... Feel the heartbeat through this cross that's beating so hard. Muhammad. Muhammad? Allah. Who's that? What are you saying? Allah. Allah? Oh, Muhammad. Muhammad, huh? Well, Muhammad's not going to save you. Is that who you've been crying to, Muhammad? He's just a nice guy. He's a prophet. This is a savior. Come out of him. Come out of him.
The emotional energy, you can call it the devil or evil or whatever, but it's something that grew inside of that person.
They are shocked with that. And when they get shocked with this horrible sight, something of that evil in them, what they did, gets inside them. And they don't know what's inside them when they get home. And when he's at home, the thing inside him says, if you don't kill yourself, I will cause you to kill your children. And the power of that hypnotic state, makes it impossible for him to say no to it, so bang.
In my personal, humble, agnostic way of thinking, I think these people have a lot of pent-up frustration over the years, violation, holding on to anger, not being able to react, that they're so frustrated and angry inside. They're depressed and they've gone through a lot, and then they meet a person like Mr. Roy Masters, and this is their way of letting all that emotions out and becoming rejuvenated. And why not? If it works, it's much better than years of psychotherapy.
Perhaps what you do is just placebo effect.
Can I just jump in here?
People feel more comfortable when you say that you're taking the demons out of them, and they will feel more comfortable.
It's much more than that. Much more.
The young lady and her cohorts reduce everything to psychological noises and explanations. And I say there's something deeper than psychology these people aren't looking at. And I know that psychiatrists and psychologists very rarely help anyone at all. Look at me. Look, who are you? In the name of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, come out of him. This cross is the symbol of his authority, and the energy flowing through me into you, we both drive it now.
The cross is dominating to Satan, but it's only as dominating as the man behind it.
Mr. Roy, I wanted to know if I were to have an exorcism, how much would it cost me?
If you couldn't afford it, nothing.
There's been a lot of talk here attacking Roy about his educational status and how qualified you need to be a minister or a doctor to do these things. The process that we are talking about is the process of recognizing the truth, and it has to do with who the person is. And no amount of degrees, no amount of psychiatry or psychology will enable the person to help another human being in the way that Roy is able to do that.
What people see in me is godly. Whatever God is, godly, something unusual.
Now, Jesus was able to cast devils out of people.
Hate God? Have you hated God? You feel damned?
He gives people the method to get that separation from evil so that the light can eventually transform us. That's the bottom line. He's the instrument for that.
That's what you fight it. Fight that. But you can't fight it. You can't fight it. Oh, it's a snake. You can't do a thing. Where you
You're speaking to the dark side of the force, who makes you think that it's you that's doing all these things wrong, and makes you try to fix it for yourself, it only makes it more worse.
Men and women are notoriously bad at fighting pride. It was the first sin in the garden. Eat this fruit and you'll be like God. Your eyes will be open. You'll be able to see the things of God. You'll be like God. You'll know right from wrong and you'll be enlightened. It's the same stupid lie that these things tell people today. Do these things. Your eyes will be open. You'll know more. You'll have more pleasure. You'll do more things.
You ain't behaving yourself lately. You're finished with it.
Doctors of medicine, they're taught that the psyche is, everything is, science is, you're either schizophrenic or you're suffering from a mental disease. I know personally that Satan preys upon those that are weak, a weak state of mind. So people that are suffering from a mental disease are more prone to demonic possession because they're already in a weak state of mind.
Hate, pure hate.
I really don't believe, what's going on. So how do you feel? How do you?
You don't have to. You don't have to be. I'm not trying to convince you.
No, I can't prove it. I just know it. And I can do it, and you can't.
Some people have the ability to see it, some people don't.
Why are you shivering?
Some people will never see it.
There is evil. Evil is real.
I'm a skeptic too. And I wasn't a psychotic or a psychological patient. I was a very successful building contractor. And I didn't expect that there was some kind of an alien identity in me. And when I discovered it, I was very puzzled because I like to see explanations for everything.
You're one of the best in there, are you?
So I approach this whole subject from a very scientific point of view, and I'm here to tell you that there may be things in your subconscious that are in your subconscious because you don't want to see them.
Whenever I show these clips to people, they react by saying that the people being exercised have been paid by Roy. They are actors. Well, they are not. Mr. Roy Masters is amongst the most honest person, and to assume that he's doing something like this is wrong.
Something that I can't explain is flowing through me, flowing through me. So whatever I say isn't coming from me. It's coming from a realm that's opposite to evil.
I believe evil is a very, very powerful force, and only God will be able to fight it. And will God give this power to a human being?
You're not God. You're a 911 operator. 911, hello, what's your problem?
I believe man is perfectly capable of being his own devil.
These demonic entities, they have one target, and it's to make you commit suicide, and it's to put you in a mental institution.
Only God is good.
What do you think? I know I'm not good.
I'm drawing you out, aren't I? I'm drawing you out.
It doesn't want to stop because it has so many people it hurts.
It's all forgiven. Listen. Did you believe you could be forgiven for everything? Come on.
Well, some of it, I don't even know what the hell I did.
Angry, just angry.
Well, because how can I be so stupid?
She's guilty of something, and she's being relieved of it just by that. A beautiful little girl. You are a beautiful little girl. It's the evil that is dying, and she's realizing her mistakes. She's crying because she's now suddenly awakened from a hypnotic state, and she sees the problems. She's crying over that.
I saw a huge face right in front of me, right here. Devil, the dark side, the bad in me. When I started meditating, I started to learning more ways to face him.
Close your eyes and put your right hand by your side. Bring your attention to your right hand hanging by your side. Simply notice it. Be aware of it. And feel the blood flowing down into it, and it will tingle. Now just do that. Just be aware of your hand hanging by your side. Again, simply notice your hand hanging by your side. Understanding is a wordless gift of knowing you always had, but didn't live. The negative faith of worry and doubt is the ego's compensation for not trusting that knowing. Emotional decisions always backfired, complicated your life, and led to confusion, depression, and despair. Whenever doubt approaches, observe quietly and watch it go away.
What exactly is meditation? There is no clear-cut answer to this.
Meditation reconnects you to God. In other words, you have a monkey brain, but as a human being, you have a soul. And the soul never dies if you listen to what you know is right in your heart.
I think the thought of meditation seemed a little too hippie, or it just didn't seem like it was something that I would do in the Christian faith.
Some people follow what they've been taught over ages.
We think sometimes that to meditate we have to be these kind of unrealistic people. And that's just a big misunderstanding. Most of us live modern lives, have a family, be married, go to work, etc., be creative. And we can still harness the benefits of meditation.
Some people try to modify it. Some people teach you to concentrate either on your breath or your forehead. Other people are saying don't concentrate, clear your mind of all thoughts, and that's meditation.
We don't want to empty out thoughts because we never discover anything about ourselves, and we never resolve anything by emptying out or repressing from view that which has happened in the past.
When we get quiet with ourselves, we can become still and connect to ourselves.
When you're objective to your thinking, you're subjective to reality. When I speak about reality, that intuitive, inner knowing, way of knowing without words. And we want to come back to that intuitive way of knowing things so we can put our trust in it and rely upon it and be guided by it so we can become, and so it can express itself through us, so we can be a whole person.
Because you have the light, you have the darkness talks. The light, you know, is not full of words. It changes you intuitively.
In hypnotism, one becomes more involved in a thought process. See, and in a meditation, one becomes more objective to it. The more close you become to a thought process, the more you escape from understanding, which may be the goal of a lot of people. Some people like to feel right when they don't know they're wrong. So if you lose yourself in your imagination, if you encourage those processes, then one can feel egotistically right and powerful.
What is the difference between self-hypnosis and meditation?
Self-hypnosis is you trying to fix yourself.
Yes.
And meditation is God fixing you.
Roy Master's meditation technique comes from his deep understanding of hypnosis and something more, a gift, he says, that was given to him.
I have a special knowledge that helps people to come back to themselves, to deal with the terrible stresses of life in a very, very special and simple way.
Meditation, the way I'm explaining it, is moving the soul from its connection to the brain, because the world will control you. But if you disconnect from that, you connect to God within you, and He flows life into you like you have never known before.
I think the one thing that I really get from Roy is his story about how he took on board when he was attacked in words from somebody, he didn't react and respond. And I think there's something in that message that resonates with me.
And most people realize that a lot of things that are going on around them shouldn't upset them, but they don't know how to not react, you see. That's coming from the subconscious mind.
When I was in the presence of my boyfriend, when I would go back to the apartment where we lived, I started to use the principle that Roy was teaching, which is to not react emotionally. And one day, where I really saw how powerful it worked, he had a garment in his hand and he was arguing with me, and he raised his hand and he was about ready to hit me on the head, and I did not react emotionally, and he stopped in midair, and that was the very first time. It was the beginning of the most wonderful thing that ever happened to me in my life.
Because all those things that made me angry and all that as a child, like, I can let them go. They don't matter.
You know, we're all broken people, and it's whether we want to stop it or continue it on. I hope for me that with my children, that my husband and I can stop some of it and we don't send it on to our kids.
Am I going to latch onto those things and allow those things to control me, which I've done in the past, and I've seen where it's led? Or am I gonna become the master of what I think and feel and want?
Sometimes I don't find the answer of anything, and then I just step back, and then boom, it falls. The answer falls, and I say, We say in Spanish, "cubo." That means, you see?
Now, the idea of this is to exercise the conscious mind from being lost in its thought, because all of the problems of life come from being lost in thought. The energy of life is dissipated. You can't receive the inner grace.
Close your eyes when you're ready and look at your eyelids. Can you see little pixels moving across the screen of your mind? Look at those pixels. I say now be aware of your first finger, but don't look. Don't look. Just be aware of it. It will tingle when you just notice it. And every now and then you'll see a distracted. There's a picture coming up. And the picture comes up, whatever it is, it wants to distract you. Watch it, it goes away. Then be aware of the second finger. And the second finger feels tingling. Just a little bit. Doesn't have to be a lot. Are you doing the third finger? Just be aware of it, and it gives it energy. It gives some of the energy here. And when you get to the little finger, be aware of it. And magically, when the person opens his eyes, he never went to sleep, somehow he sees things he never saw before, and he's seeing his own faults.
If meditation can prevent people from falling ill, finding the inner strength to forgive people who violated them, it seems like it is much better than all the vitamins, all the nutrition, all the medication combined in the world. It definitely can be a great thing for humanity.
Catch resentment before it washes over you. Resentment must be recognized for what it is, and then neutralized every single moment of your life in thought, word, and deed. Failing that, the past will continue to be reinforced in the present to become that hopeless, depressing future. Resist resentfully and willfully struggling with any problems that might rise to the surface. All this may be quite puzzling, but remember what I said. Do not analyze. Resist the angry struggle against everything. Let go and let God do the work, in a manner of speaking. These words will be your guide. Only in the true objective state can the newly aware self inherit faith, whereby faith, patience, may do its perfect work. Patience is the evidence of faith, just as impatience is the evidence of doubt. Soon you will fully appreciate and marvel how far the principle of patient endurance and love can take you through life, restore your health and happiness. Patience builds the only thing of worth you take out of the world as you leave. Character will lead your consciousness out from the emotional prison of your thinking, awaken you progressively to higher realms of truth that will set you free.